through the evening. I will be there. Okay. With us now from West Virginia, West by God, Virginia, Shelley Capito, the number 4 Republican in the U.S. Senate, and she's part of the team that's trying to make a deal to end this shutdown. Senator, we're starting to see a little movement. There are bipartisan talks about finishing this fiscal year's spending bills and a possible deal on Obamacare subsidies that Democrats want in exchange for reopening the government. How close from where you sit are we to ending this shutdown?
Well, I think, you know what, ironically, we've been close for five weeks in that we only need 5 Democrats to sort of come to their senses and say, yes, reopen the government, and then we can begin to negotiate. But setting that aside, which is very frustrating of the 13 times we voted on this, I think that with SNAP benefits expiring, I think the other side is looking at themselves and realizing there's 40 million families and people across the nation that are really feeling that, along with the stoppages that you see at the airports and other things. This isn't a political game anymore. This is hurting people, and we need to reopen government. And then all of these negotiations, I'm particularly excited about the possibility of moving our appropriations bills through, so then we can appropriate to the Trump budget. We can say what we want to do, and I think that opens up a lot of possibilities, I think, for us to assert our spending authority like we should.
Okay. Yes, and on the question of these COVID-era Obamacare subsidies that are set to expire, we're also seeing some movement there. Your Republican colleague from North Carolina, Tom Tillis, called for a 2-year expansion, or said he might be able to do a 2-year extension. I understand not wanting to negotiate until the shutdown is over, but are you in principle open to some kind of time-limited extension for these subsidies?
Well, I think what we're going to see is we're now past the November 1st date. People have to sign up all the way, to January the 1st. And health care is very personal, Chris, as you know, to every single family. So this is important. This is 74,000 West Virginians who have the subsidies. The enhanced subsidies is the smaller subsidy that was put into effect basically by the Democrats in 2022 during COVID, meant to expire. But now people are beginning to rely on them, as we knew that probably would happen. I am open to looking at a way to reform this system, to move it forward, and to get past this logjam. So, yes, we've had many conversations, give and take. That's what we're supposed to be doing, but we're not going to get anywhere until we have the government open, as John Thune has said numerous times. Then we'll begin to vote on these things and solidify those negotiations.
All right, let's talk about the filibuster. The Majority Leader Thune has made it pretty clear that he is for the filibuster, remains for the filibuster. But when we go back to 2013 and Harry Reid, it has been a pretty consistent bipartisan erosion of the filibuster, including some rule changes sort of at the periphery this year. Even though Democrats are relying on the filibuster now, they historically have not been fans. What do you say to Republicans who argue that the blue team is going to end the filibuster whenever they return to power, so now is the right time to blow it up so that Republicans get the benefits?
Well, quite simply, we don't have the votes to do this. So we don't need to, I think, move forward with an internal fight as to whether to eliminate the filibuster. Personally, I think it preserves the rights of the minority. And so when we're in the minority again, which will happen at some point throughout history, we're not going to be able to assert our minority rights and prevent things like new states joining the union, packing the court, voter reform, abortion and gun issues that are very extreme. And so that, I think, is an important quality of the filibuster. I think also that we have so much more that we need to be focusing on. So I don't think that this will, I don't think we have the votes to pass it. And there are many like me who have signed a letter in 2017 saying we wouldn't do it. I don't intend to do that.
All right, you know me, I am diving into the crosstabs on our new poll from our partners at DDHQ, and I'm particularly interested in the numbers around the economy. Even a sizable number of Republicans say that they are feeling worse off economically, financially than they were a year ago. Tariffs are definitely a part of what is driving prices up, and some Republicans joined a successful Senate vote to try to claw back some of the president's tariff power just this past week. Now, we know that's dead on arrival in the House, but on Wednesday, Wednesday, the Supreme Court is going to hear arguments on the president's tariff power. He may lose. If the president loses and comes to Congress for authorization, do you see yourself wanting to support him to keep the status quo or to restore the status quo on tariffs?
I think what the president is trying to do here is to advantage the American worker, which he feels, and I feel, have been disadvantaged because of unfair trade practices over decades. And so he was just in Asia. He struck deals with Malaysia, with Cambodia, I think on the table with Japan and Vietnam, had huge talks with the Chinese. I think all of this is going to lay to rest. I think where we're seeing the maybe hesitancy on the part of the voter is there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. The president is nailing these down practically daily. And I think once those do get nailed down, you'll see our agriculture products will be more advantaged. As you see the soybean sales over in China, you'll see other things like supply chains loosen up and have more reciprocal trade barriers, if any. And so I think actually by the time we get to the end of December, this is all going to be a shift. And then that will have time for our tax relief, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no tax on Social Security. All of these things will blend in with the small business tax advantages that we built in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Okay. Late last night, the Pentagon announced additional targeted killings of suspected drug smugglers in the Caribbean. The president has said that attacks on land-based targets, presumably inside Venezuela, are next. And he says he does not need congressional authorization for any of it. Democrats say they're not even getting briefings on these operations. Listen to what the ranking Democrat on Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, said.
Yesterday, the administration convened a briefing for Republican senators, and only Republican senators, on the recent U.S. military strikes in the Caribbean. That is not how the system is supposed to work. That is not how national security decisions are supposed to be made.
Okay, what do you say to Senator Warner's complaint, and where are you on the question of congressional authorization?
Well, West Virginia, as you know, has been highly affected by the drug trafficking and fentanyl that has just flooded into this country, and in particularly in my state, has very much cost many lives and a lot of sorrow all across the state. So I support the president taking out narco-terrorists in international waters, which he's doing with the intelligence that he has and that they are gathering as we speak. I do believe that both sides of the political spectrum, Republicans and Democrats, should get the identical briefings, should know, especially on the Intelligence Committee, what is actually going on. I hope that gets remedied this week, if in fact that's what's happened. And so I think, but I believe the president is protecting this country by taking out those that are trafficking fentanyl into this country and killing Americans.
Okay, America, if you were getting ready to fight traffic on Route 88 for Oglebay Park's Festival of Lights, you would know her already. But if you don't, yes, there she is.